Hi guys, it's Miss Wills again, and I'm just going to be continuing the lesson on Act 5, Scene 5 of Macbeth. So where we've in the last clip is you looked at the use of repetition and the effect of that in the soliloquy. Now we're going to be looking at what the candle represents in the soliloquy here. So I would like you for me to just read and identify where this candle is used, the reference to the candle is used, and I would like you to think about what it actually means and what it represents. So I'd like you to pause this recording and to write down your ideas, please. Okay, so ideas you may have. So we've got here the candle represents human life and how fragile it is as well. Macbeth calls it a brief candle, meaning a short candle that only burns briefly, burns down and the flame goes out, and then it's completely dark. So this idea that life is really, really short in the context of the great darkness about it, but it also could be talking about, this idea when our light goes out, we are consumed by darkness, by something much bigger than what we are, and it kind of puts life into perspective for him as well. So the next thing I would like you to think about is what references can you find to time in here? Where is time referred to? Why is it important, do you think, for Macbeth at this stage, time? Why is time so important for him? So I'd like you to pause this recording and answer those questions, please. Okay, so you may have had ideas such as it emphasizes that Macbeth has run out of time because obviously the audience, not Macbeth at this point, but the audience know that Birnam Wood is approaching, which means he is going to die, he is going to lose. But he also has no time to grieve for his wife, as he must think of his survival and protect his own life as well. So this idea that there's not enough time for him to do this. Time has also become, as I said before, a burden for him because what is he to have tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow now that he no longer has his wife to share it with? Okay, so moving on to the next slide here. So this is a new term that I would like you to get down in your notes. This term is Anagnorisis. And what that means is it's basically a moment in a plot or a story, specifically a tragedy, wherein the main character either recognizes or identifies their true nature and they discover the nature of their situation. So it's just a moment of realization, an awakening to the reality of what's going on around them. So for Macbeth, this really is a moment here of realization. And I would like you to look at the quotations below, please. And I just want you to pause this recording again and just to write down what does Macbeth realize here through these quotations? What do we know he has now come to realize? So I'd just like you to pause the recording there. Okay, so of course, as we talked about before, he is starting to realize that life is futile. He's questioning the meaning of life. But not only that, he's questioning his actions now. Everything he's done has been for nothing. He's understanding, he's talking about the witches' equivocation, the fact that they've confused him. He's starting to understand their evil influence on him, and how he's been so easily influenced by them and driven by what they say. He relied so much on their words and their prophecies. So we need to think now then, has Macbeth returned to the tragic hero? So, he's gone from being the constant tyrant in this scene now to really starting to realize the error of his ways. And at the end, when he realizes that he's pretty much going to die, he says, "Ring the alarm bell. Blow wind, come rack, at least we'll die with harness on our back." Now, I've talked about the possibility of an audience losing any sense of sympathy for Macbeth after he killed the Macduff family. But do you think we gain that the sense of sympathy for him and respect for Macbeth, do we think that returns at this point? So instead of cowering away, he faces death head on, he faces his enemy head on, knowing really what the result's going to be. So I would just like you to pause this recording again and just to write down what your thoughts and ideas on this are. Do you feel any sympathy for Macbeth here? Do you respect him at this point? And if so, why? Okay, so the final slide here. Obviously, when we're talking about Shakespeare and the techniques he uses, we don't just look at language, we also look at structure as well. And for Macbeth, it's arguable that he goes through this kind of cycle. There's a cyclical structure to his narrative, to his life. He was at the beginning labeled Brave Macbeth, the brave and valiant and noble soldier who was very much good at his job at killing people on the battlefield. Now we've kind of returned. Have we returned to that Macbeth now, who's facing death head on at the end? And I want you to get your ideas down about what do you think Shakespeare is trying to say here? Is he basically trying to say we can try in life to be something more than what we are, but in the end of the day, we can never really, we'll always end up being ourselves again. And that is kind of what's happening with Macbeth. He's trying to be over ambitious, but in doing that, he's realized that he can't, that he is who he is, and perhaps he shouldn't have indulged in that ambition in the first place. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, guys. And as always, if you do have any questions about Act 5, Scene 5, please email your teachers. Okay, thank you very much.